I reckon the ark because the cows like them. I'm not allowed to put it that way. Why not? I said to you, didn't I? Britain should run across the street the other way. Hi, can I help you?
Actually, she can. I'm trying to make my mind up which one I should buy. There's so many to choose from. Why are there so many?
Well, I guess it's because the makers of these products here realise that there's a market out there for them. That there is, I guess market research has shown that there is a spiritual hunger in people, and these guys are trying to fill it.
Fair enough, I guess. But how on earth do you decide? I mean, do I have, Buddhism or Hinduism? But then again, does it really matter? Aren't they all the same?
Well, actually, no, they're not. I mean, that's a common misconception. People think that they're all the same, but in actual fact, many of these are completely in contradiction to one another. In fact, they're not really the same at all. Apart from the fact that they're all trying to fill the same spiritual void in people's lives, they are in fact quite different.
Really?
Let's see, let's take Buddhism for example. If you were interested in the origins of the universe and you were going to go for this one here, this product here, you would discover that what they think is that the universe never really had a beginning, that it just kept cycling through karmic cycles of death and rebirth. It just went on and on and on and on and on. Now, in contrast to that, Christianity here believes that the universe actually had a beginning. To quote you from Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In other words, the universe, time itself, and everything that existed had a specific starting point in time. So they're actually quite different from each other.
Okay, but aren't all the pictures of God the same?
Well, again, no, they're not. Let's see, if you were to take New Age spirituality, for example, you would find that this is a blend of Eastern religions, mysticism, occultic stuff, and very hard to pin down what it actually means. But if you went right to the core of New Age philosophy, what you would discover is that they would say that their picture of God is that there is no God. In fact, they would say that in fact everything is God, that you are God, that the universe is God. It's a concept often called Gaia or Gaia, and basically what it's saying is that the whole universe is conscious in some kind of way. Rocks have less consciousness than maybe we do, but everything is God. Now, in contrast to that, Islam, Christianity and Judaism all basically say, firstly, that there is a God, and secondly, that there is only one God, whereas Hinduism would say that there are lots of gods. It gets pretty confusing, but they're all actually quite different, aren't they?
Okay. But what about my spiritual hunger? How do they try and deal with that?
That's another good question. It depends on whether you want to come back as a cow, whether you want to reach a state of nirvana and become nothing, or whether you want to have a personal relationship with the creator of the universe.
Huh?
I'm sorry about that, it was a little bit confusing, but if you're into Hinduism, basically they're into what's called reincarnation, transmigration of the soul, which basically means that when you die, your soul leaves your dying body and then moves into a life that's just been conceived. And depending on how well you've done in your previous life, that determines whether you get reincarnated into a higher form of existence, or if you're already human, into a higher caste of human being, or into maybe something lower, like an animal or even an insect.
You're not serious?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're into Buddhism, it's a little bit different. Your way there is to kind of like, I guess, reach salvation through becoming enlightened, which means that through a series of processes like meditation, good works, knowledge, and denying yourself, you approach this state of moksha or nirvana or being enlightened, where you realize, in fact, that you are nothing.
I cease to exist.
Yeah, you cease to exist in Buddhism. The idea is to get to this total enlightened state where you absolutely realize that you're nothing, that you're not there anymore. But in Christianity, it's totally different. In Christianity, if you put your faith in Jesus Christ, you are resurrected to eternal life, to a relationship with your Creator, a Creator who loves you, made you for Himself, and you're there with all others who, in a sense, love God as well. It's kind of like, I guess, an awesome family reunion that just goes on and on forever and ever.
Far out. They are different, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're absolutely, totally different.
Well, how do you decide then? I mean, do I have to decide? Can I just ignore them?
Well, you could, but then you'd still have your spiritual hunger, wouldn't you? I mean, basically, all these things, all these religions say something very important about life after death. So it's important to pick one of them. But the key thing is actually to pick the right one. Because as we've discovered today, they're all very different from one another.
So how do you decide then?
Well, Here's a couple of ideas. If God exists, and I guess we take that to be true because of the spiritual hunger we have, then God made us, and God, I think, would want to know us. Therefore, I think that God is in a process of trying to make himself known to us, right? So I would suggest that the first thing you should do is pray. Actually, just pray and say, God, help me to discover the truth. Then I suggest that you investigate. Have a look at the products. Have a look at the things that they say they're on about. Check them out. See if their ingredients match up with the real world. Do they make sense? And if they don't, get rid of them. And finally, you then need to make a decision.
Oh, sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it is, but it's important work. And I got one final suggestion for you. All of these religions really deal with life beyond the grave, with death. One of them stands out. One of them is unique in relation to all the others. Because the grave of every Hindu Brahma is full. The grave of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, is full. The grave of every New Age guru, prophet and priest is full. The grave of Buddha is full. But the grave of Jesus Christ is empty. Of all the religions, this is the only one where someone has gone beyond the veil and come back to tell us about God. I'd suggest take a look at this one.